Okay, so my name is Monica Arceo. I'm in Philosophy 107 with James Lee, and I'm going to be asking
Karina Arceo.
a couple of questions regarding the class and things that we've learned, especially through the first dialogue. And so, do you want to say where you go to school and your major?
So I'm a freshman at Seton Hall currently. I'm double majoring in political science and psychology currently.
Okay, so have you taken a philosophy course yet?
Yeah, I'm currently in an ethics philosophy course.
Okay, so have they asked you questions about life, love, happiness yet?
It's more about moral standards, like what moral standards to live by and stuff like that, and different forms of.
Are you familiar with conceptual analysis?
No, not really. No.
Okay, so then I can definitely explain to you that. So the first question I want to ask you is, what's required for you to be happy?
Basically, just having mostly my family be happy there with me. I'm kind of more of a person that if my surroundings are positive, I'm a positive person. So it's more of everyone else around me being happy and making sure they're happy so I can be happy.
So what would your definition of happiness be?
My definition of happiness would be kind of fulfillment in your own life, whichever way that you feel, whether it be a hobby or something like that. So any way that your life feels fulfilled.
How would your family play into that?
I mean, my life revolves around my family. So as long as they're happy, my life is fulfilled.
Right. So let's just say that, your family is happy and everything's okay, right? There's times when a lot of people still go through depression and things like that, and they feel like their life isn't fulfilled. Besides your family, what else in your life would need to be done for you to remain happy?
I think that's different for everyone. I find fulfillment with my family. Someone else might find their life to be fulfilled in another way. And so I feel like whenever someone is unhappy and doesn't know what to do, it's because they are unsure of what would fulfill their life at that point.
Okay, so like I said, conceptual analysis, basically the way that I broke it down would be I gave the definition, which I asked you, your definition of happiness. Then I broke things down. So I also had said my family, but also prospering in, the field that I wanted to go to, right? Mm-hmm. So I want to do well in school because I know that if I got a bad grade, I wouldn't be happy. Oh, yeah. So I broke things down in to components and then how those all interact at the end. And basically I kind of went from most important to least important. What are things that, there are little things that make me happy that I could probably get rid of and still be happy, but having those things make me happy. So having a good meal or little, mm-hmm. The little things in life that make you happy. But I did put my family as number one. Number two would be doing well in school and things like that. So would you also be able to categorize that, break things down into most important to least important? And if you can, just talk a little about it.
Okay, so most important, obviously, family. Second most important would probably be my own well-being, my health and stuff like that, just because everyone else is kind of above me. So I kind of care about myself too. Then would be prospering in school, just because I have struggled a lot in school. So finally being able to succeed obviously has brought me a lot of happiness. And then going down would probably be maybe above that would be having a roof over my head, having the money to get me a meal, get me clothes on my back and stuff like that. And then obviously the little things is getting a $5 Starbucks.
Right.
Obviously it makes me happy, but I mean, like you said, I can get rid of it and still be as happy.
Right. There was one component that I think kind of stuck out to me the most is I included music very high on my list. Mm-hmm. I feel if that was stripped, I could not watch TV for the rest of my life.
Oh, yeah.
Be fine. I could, but I feel if music was completely cut out of my life, that'd be a really big hit. And I never really thought about it until I started breaking things down. And I'm like, I listen to music every single day. Like, I have earphones in, like, while I walk to class, like, when I'm home with family, like, that's what we do. So is there something like that for you that you think, like, that you thought once was really small, but when you start breaking things down, you realize how important it was?
Um, I mean, it's not as like tangible as like music, but definitely having someone, like whether it be like you, like my sister, like to talk to. Just like I'm a person that needs someone, like, or like other people around me. Like I hate being by
Right.
myself, which you know. I hate being by myself. I hate like stuff like that. So it's definitely like having someone else like there.
Right.
Like I said, like either whether it be like my mom, my sister, whoever it is, like just having that like face to face interaction is like so important to me because like if I go a day without talking to anyone, it's a bad day for me, you know?
Right.
Because I need, not that I'm saying I'm like dependent, but
that social interaction is key for you.
Is key, yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
And that's where I feel like we differ a lot because I could go, days without talking to anyone and be okay. So, I mean, it's cool, like, breaking things down and realize the differences between us, even though we are sisters and like
we share a room
and
we're all together all the time.
And like, we share the whole family thing, but like when we break down what happiness is to us, it's still so different. Yeah. So the next question I wanted to ask you is, which is a good segue because you said that you need like that social interaction, like to feel loved and stuff. So what is required for you to feel love?
Definitely someone that allows me to be myself. That's key. Just because I know that in a lot of relationships, like you kind of lose your sense of self just because you're trying to please the other person. And definitely like feeling loved is like the other person accepting you for your flaws, like knowing your flaws and still being like, okay, whatever, like I can get past that. And just genuinely caring not only for you, but the things you like.
Right.
Like incorporating those things into like kind of engulfing into those things, like taking me and my dislikes and likes. So kind of taking that into consideration and like not rolling your eyes when I talk about something I like also being interested even though you could care less. Right.
So right now you're talking about more of a romantic relationship, correct? Mm-hmm. So when I went in the class, when I was asked, what love is, because we had to conceptually analyze it, break it down and stuff like that, I figured out that there is not one type of love, but that there's multiple. Mm-hmm. Like I had said that there is like the romantic, the familial, the affect, like universal, which is like you care about everyone's well-being. Like, when there's like a massacre or something, like you still feel like, you love that, like you love you want human beings to do well. Like you wouldn't want anyone to die, things like that. Also like an uncommitted love. So it's like, flirting or, something that isn't as serious as a relationship, but things like that. Also friendship, like you don't have any,
romantic ties.
Yeah, exactly. So like you said, you're talking more about romantic love, but in a sense of all loves, right? Like that I just talked about. What do you think is like required in that? Or if they're different, could you elaborate just a little bit?
I mean, overall, like general love is like caring for like their well-being and wanting them to be like okay.
Right.
Not just like physically, but like mentally, emotionally, like wanting to be okay. Like you said, like when a massacre happens, like you want that family to be okay.
Right.
Like whoever's suffering, you want them to be okay. So it's that general like care for their well-being that is like overall love. Like also with a friend, you want them to be okay.
Right.
With your family, you want them to be okay. So just making sure that they're like well off or wanting them to be
so
well
you think that's definitely like the core to every type of love?
I think that's the one thing they all have in common. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I also agree with that, and then that the other ones kind of break off and have certain components that maybe the other one doesn't have. But yes, I do agree that that's definitely like the core to all types of love. So what is required for you to live your best life?
Just not so like all my wants and needs are fulfilled, but like if I'm like I said, like number two is like my well-being. As selfish as that sounds, like
Right.
I need me to be okay. Like after everyone else, like I need myself to be okay. So in order for me to live my best life, I think it's like the capacity for, or like being able to do like anything extra as long as I'm okay.
Right.
So if I can go get that $5 Starbucks, like I'm living my best life, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
If I'm able to go that extra step above being okay, like,
Yeah. So when I was asked this question, the main thing for me was, like I said, like the career that I want to go into, like prospering, doing well in school, things like that. So, as you know, I'll be graduating.
mm-hmm.
So I think that's like, this question was like key for me to answer because it's like life after school, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because I'm going to be doing like the whole application process and I won't be in school for a while till I get into medical school. But is that something that's key for you, like doing well in school, or is your career like, let's just say, like a motivation for you to live your best life? Like, do you look that far into the future, or are you more someone that looks into the present?
I'm more into the person, like a person that looks into the present and sees how it could affect my future.
Okay.
Definitely as of recently, because before I was more of a live in the moment type
Right.
of person. But now I've kind of realized that everything that happens now is going to affect your future. So yeah, like going that extra step is going an extra step towards the future. So like whether it is like spend more time studying or whatever it is, like it's going to affect me in the long run. Like,
right. Because the way that I thought about it is like when I saw this question, like live your best life, for me, like it wasn't even like in the present, it was more of life in the long run.
mm-hmm.
Right? So I guess like there's two different ways you can look at it. It's like you said, you could be that person that lives in the moment and wants to live your best life at that moment,
mm-hmm.
or be that person that wants to live your best life overall, you know? So
Yeah.
I feel like there is different kinds of people, and I feel like you said, like you were different to what you're evolving to now.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of lived in that, like that live in the moment type thing. And I've never been like that. Like, I've always been the look into the future ever since I was really young. So I think like as like another really cool thing is asking these questions and, you know, doing these conceptual analysis and breaking it down and realizing how different people are and how different people like outlook on this. Because when we're talking about this in class, like there was a lot of debate. Our professor, it was a very like highly dynamic class where he would ask us questions and we'd type it in into poll everywhere and, you know, things like that. And some people would speak up and have their opinions. And I was like, wow, like we really don't all think the same. Like we're all very different. And that kind of like initiated discussion. And that's why I kind of wanted to do like my final project to kind of be more as a conversation, because I feel like that's how I learn better. Like I remember conversations we have in class more than I do like notes on the wall or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was that's kind of like the key of why I wanted to do this. So why do you care about living a meaningful life? Like why is it important for you to like, let's just say, I like first thing, like let's just get off the bat is, what do you want to do like in the future, like as your career, like for your life to be meaningful?
Well, my goal in my career is to hopefully go to law school after my 4 years at Seton Hall. And then after that, either be like an immigration lawyer or child services, because we are, like me and you, we're the type of person that always wants to help other people.
Right.
And I feel like that's the best way I can ensure like that people are being helped, whether it be in like child services or like helping like with the whole, especially now, like with the whole immigration reform and stuff like that. But me living a meaningful life is kind of following the morals that we have set in our household or like with our religion. Like we're big in our religion too. So definitely like living our best life so our parents are happy and like most of all, so like God's happy.
Right.
So like I know I'm placed on this earth like for a reason.
Right.
And my reason is like to live on in my afterlife with God and all like be happy and stuff. So definitely living a meaningful life is following those morals and those like sets of rules that we have implemented over
Right.
the years.
Right, yeah, that's another thing. Like you keep on like kind of segueing into things that we've talked in class, especially like with God, afterlife, and all that stuff. Like, I completely agree with you. With living a meaningful life is ensuring the happiness of others.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because like you said, it's like once our family's good, like once like we got that taken care of, and then we have that like ourselves taken care of, then the universal aspect of love comes into play really heavily. You know, because you do want to ensure the happiness of other people, that other people are okay. So, you know, I'm great at sciences, hate politics, and you're the complete opposite. You hate science and love politics, but you found a way where you could use your best abilities and live a meaningful life, and I could do the same, right? So you talked about God and like our religion, we're Catholic, and how that has set up rules for us to live a meaningful life, which is really important because I feel like a lot of people nowadays, they'll have they don't have these rules because they haven't followed religion, and there's nothing wrong. Like, we accept people from all religions. Like, we have friends that, you know, believe in God, people that are atheists that are friends, you know, from all over. So we're very accepting with that. But people are very different when it comes to these morals, right? So you clearly believe in afterlife and in God. So do you think that, this is kind of a random question, we're still talking about this in the dialogue with the professor, but do you think that like we are essentially our soul and that our bodies are kind of useless?
Not that they are useless, but they're like an instrument that we use in order to fulfill our life here, in order for our souls to be okay in the afterlife. So they're kind of like our tool.
Okay, well, that's crazy because I did not think about it like that, but that makes sense because like the professor keeps on asking me, and I don't know, like, because I think our bodies are important, and I feel like, let's just say if God forbid one day, like, you know, you amputated your leg, you would become a different person, you know, like you wouldn't be able to do the same things, right? But then again, I'm like, okay, like we're essentially our soul. So then why would our leg be essential if our soul lives on and we're a different person? But you kind of put that into perspective and saying that it's a tool, it's an instrument that we use, but we are essentially our soul, right? So that was kind of just a little thing that I wanted to add in just because you brought up afterlife and things like that. But most of the stuff that we talked about was in the beginning of class. So we've broken everything down, we've said everything. And do you have any final thoughts about all the questions that I've asked you? Some way that you could possibly tie them all together, like in a couple sentences?
I mean, essentially they all kind of, it's like a trickle-down effect. Everything kind of leads into the other, which is, I'm sure that's why you pick these questions. But definitely, I mean, in a bunch of like Maslow's theory of like self-fulfillment, it's like love is on that like pyramid, you know?
Right.
So definitely being loved, being able to love others is like obviously your way or everyone's way of living a meaningful life. Whether, I mean, it doesn't have to be love with another person. It could be like I said before, like love in a hobby or love in your like career. Like you don't, I mean, I need another person. I need that social interaction, but that's not the same for everyone.
Right.
And love can be like, translated in different ways. It just depends on the person, but definitely like having that love aspect definitely helps like everyone be and live a meaningful life.
Right. Which is, it's crazy that you're my sister and we talk about everything essentially, which we would think, right? But like asking you these questions kind of like, I mean, it helped me learn a lot in things that I thought I knew and clearly are very different. And also even like we have about like 20 something kids in the class and like no one has had a response like yours. So it's like I'm actually really curious to ask other people the same thing because it's like no one closer than my sister and still like I've learned a lot. So yeah, like, that's all the questions I asked her. That's the final project and we're done. Thank you.